Fear and being afraid are featured prominently in today's gospel from Matthew 10:26 to 33. Jesus was well acquainted with the human capacity for fear, so much so that fear is mentioned about 350 times in the Bible. God knows how we can sometimes get so overwhelmed by fear that we become paralyzed or silenced or willing to go along with something that we know is very wrong. Perhaps that's what's behind Jesus' question. Are not two sparrows sold for a small coin? And yet not one of them falls to the ground without your Father's knowledge. Even all the hairs of your head are counted. So don't be afraid. You are worth more than many sparrows. God does not want us to live our lives in fear. Today's gospel is trying to encourage people to move beyond their fears. So often I wondered why it is so easy to incite fear and hate, and yet so difficult to foster compassion and love. Is it our propensity towards fear that drives the willingness to be suspicious or to fear the other? In a graduate course that I attended a number of years ago, there were two women who had 14-year-old daughters. They were quite surprised to learn that their daughters were experiencing very similar problems. They had anticipated that a 14-year-old white girl would have different problems than a 14-year-old black girl. They had forgotten that 14 is a difficult age regardless of what race you are. It struck me then, as it does now, that as long as we are so separated, we can't know about each other's lives. And that not knowing, not being connected, makes it easier to judge others or to fall prey to our fears. When you start to become fearful or feel afraid of someone based on how society has labeled them, that's when Jesus is calling us to remember the sparrows in Matthew's gospel. Jesus wants to remind us that as each one of us is a child of God, we are all worth more than hundreds of sparrows. Amen.